Welcome to today's Money Moment. My name is Dave Riback. I'm the managing partner of Oswego Wealth Management. And today we're going to talk about estate planning. Let me share my screen with you so you can see what I am looking at. And you should see something that says the 3 key elements of smart estate planning. If you take a look on the left-hand side where it says key takeaways, we're going to point out to you that a will identifies precisely what you want to have happen to your assets and the estate, while trust can potentially help you mitigate taxes, and you want to keep any estate plan up to date by reviewing it every few years. And with having said that, let's go ahead and dive on in. Even if your financial life has lots of complexity, you can likely get on track by focusing on just the three main areas of estate planning: wills, trusts, and fiduciaries. So let's dive right in. The all-important will. Simply stated, everyone should have a will. It is the basic foundation for every estate plan. No matter how simple or complex your planning needs are, it all starts with a will, because a will identifies precisely what you want to have happen to your assets and your estate. Dying without a will means you've decided that the state knows what's best for you and your family. Let that sink in. Dying without a will means you've decided that the state knows what's best for you and your family. Yeah, I don't think so. So let's talk about the advantages and disadvantages of an estate, of a will. On the left-hand side, you can see that with a will, you get to decide on the disposition of your hard-earned wealth. You decide where the money goes. Estate taxes are mitigated, especially when the will is part of a broader estate plan. And third, you specify who will be your fiduciaries. Now, the disadvantages are that you have to accept that one day, yes, you too are going to die. I'm sorry to break that news to you, but none of us are immortal. So you're going to have to face up to that fact. And quite frankly, that is why most people put off doing their estate planning. The second piece of that is there is a cost associated with writing a will and with putting together an estate plan. So let's talk about trust. We talked about wills. Trust being typically the second component of a smart estate plan. Essentially, a trust is simply a means of transferring property to a third party, and that third party is the trust. The trustee, the person who oversees the trust, will carry out your wishes on behalf of the beneficiaries. Broadly speaking, there are 2 types of trusts: a living trust established while you are alive, and a testamentary or springing trust created by your will after you have passed away. Additionally, there are two fundamental trust structures: a revocable trust, which allows you to retain full control over the assets in the trust. The assets will be included in your taxable estate upon death. An irrevocable trust is one which you cannot make any changes to it. To obtain the tax savings that come with the trust, you have to give up control of the trust while you are alive. So that's the downside. So is a trust right for you? Well, ask yourself these 5 questions. Number 1, are your beneficiaries unwilling or unable to handle the responsibilities of an outright gift? Number 2, do you want to keep the amount and the ways your assets are distributed to your heirs a secret? Number 3, do you want to delay or restrict the ownership of the assets by the beneficiaries? Number 4, do you need to provide protection from your or your beneficiaries' creditors and plaintiffs? Number 5, do you want to lower your estate taxes? And there's no right or wrong answers to any of these, by the way. But if you answered yes to any of these, then it might make sense for you to set up a trust. So let's take a closer look at living trusts, because they are becoming more and more popular as a way to avoid the cost of probate. A living trust can potentially avoid or mitigate those effects. And it comes with some attractive benefits, and those include: a living trust provides privacy. If you own property in another state and fund it into your living trust, you will avoid a second probate on that asset. Number 3, if you become incapacitated, a living trust can provide for private management of your assets and affairs and avoid public probate court involvement. So good reasons for having a living trust. So You see this warning up here: for a living trust to be meaningful, it must be funded. That is, the assets need to be put inside the trust. Otherwise, you just wasted your time and money. So it's important for you to understand how they compare wills and living trusts. So a will is only viable at death. A living trust can have uses while you are still alive. Wills are public, living trusts are private. Wills are not very good when dealing with more than one state. Living trusts are good in every state. A will must go through probate. A living trust normally avoids probate. Wills are less expensive to put in place. Living trusts are more expensive. So you definitely want to consult with a professional about trusts and wills and the latest developments in the estate planning area. So we mentioned fiduciaries at the beginning of this. So what is the role of a fiduciary? Well, a fiduciary is a person or organization that is ethically and legally bound to act in the best interest of another person and to oversee the other person's finances. It's just that simple. So you'll also hear the term executor and a trustee. So an executor is the person who's listed in the will to handle the estate. An executor has a number of responsibilities. That includes collecting and organizing your assets, paying off the debts, acting as a collection agency for money that's due to you, handling the necessary tax matters, ensuring that assets are distributed to beneficiaries. Conversely, when you set up a trust, you then have a trustee. And the trustee is responsible for ensuring the proper tax forms are filed correctly and on time, making investment decisions, and working with beneficiaries. Guardians are another area. And this is for your underage children. And there are 3 criteria. Will the guardian love your children? Are the guardians capable of doing a good job of raising your children? And do you think the guardians are going to have the same morals and values that you have? All important questions for you to ask yourself before establishing guardians to raise your children. And finally, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this, estate planning professionals will tell you that you really need to have your estate plan reviewed every 1 to 2 years. It's common for us to run across clients who have not updated their estate plan for 5, 10, in some cases 20 years. And clearly, estate laws change much more often than that. And so it's important to have a professional take a look at that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. There we go. I'm back. So again, want to thank you for joining us for today's Money Moment. Excuse me. And if you'd like a copy of that special report, call us at 503-603-0872 or send us an email to info@oswegowealth.com. It's just simply info@oswegowealth.com. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye now.